Welcome to the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast, where it is never too early for fantasy football. My name is Jeff.
And I'm Alex.
As always, thank you for downloading, listening, liking, and commenting on our podcast videos. Please join our community by subscribing to us on the socials. Our handle on all platforms is at N2EFantasy. We are also available on all major podcasting apps by searching N2EFantasy. Alex, what do we have on today's show?
Today's show, we have our Week 11 primer with some ads, some starts and sits going into the matchups, and who we think will win each matchup. We have, for our bye weeks, we have the Falcons, Colts, Patriots, and Saints. So take those guys out of your lineups. And Jeff, we can get kick-started here with the Thursday night matchup, Bengals at Ravens. It's going to be, hopefully, one of the better Thursday night matchups. Who do you have in this matchup? Who are you starting?
So first, I'm going to pick the Ravens in this matchup. They're at home. They're coming off of an embarrassing loss. The Bengals are also coming off of an embarrassing loss, so this should be a barn burner, to say the least, for a standalone game. I'm probably going to go the over in this matchup. I haven't looked at the under-over yet, but I do expect two desperate teams for a victory in this situation. And I'm going to go ahead and start Lamar. I'm going to start Burrow. I'm going to start Mixon. I'm going to start Keaton Mitchell. Maybe even Gus Edwards, but he's more of a if you're desperate play. But I do believe Keaton Mitchell gets involved more in this offense going forward. I'm going to start Chase, Boyd, Flowers, and Andrews. I do not believe T. Higgins plays in this matchup. Alex, who did I miss, and who do you have in this matchup?
No, I agree with everyone that you have. Okay. Logic dictates, based on how the season's gone, the Ravens. I do think that a lot of that's skewed because of the earlier struggles for the Bengals. I am going to go the Bengals just because I think they need the victory more. I think they're going to be slinging it as much as they can, and I'm going to go the Bengals. I don't expect it to be an easy one. I think this really is a coin flip, so I'll go the Bengals just to be a little contrarian there.
That is your MO right now. All right, so we can move on to the Cardinals at the Texans, unless you have anything else to follow up with that game.
Nope, we can go there. Jeff,
All right.
who do you got in this matchup? You're clearly going Cardinals because you love Kyler, right?
No, but I'm starting Kyler. I'm starting Stroud, starting Connor, Collins, Noah Brown at this point, McBride, Marquise Brown, Dalton Schultz. We're going to have to see if Nico Collins actually plays in this game. But I would also start Singletary if Pierce is out. So go ahead and give me the Texans in this matchup and let me know who I missed.
Okay, well, I think this is going to be a week that we're going to basically have a lot of similarities. So I'm also going the Texans for obvious reasons, and I, I'm basically firing up
That you're
all the
skewed.
prominent Texans. I think Nico Collins should be back this week. So assuming he is, I would start him. If he's not, obviously I'm not going to put in someone who's out. I'm starting everyone that you're starting, and like I said, I'm picking the Texans.
All right. So we're in agreement of this matchup like we weren't the first one, and we're going to move on to the Bears at the Lions, and you're going to tell me who to start and sit and let me know who you got.
Okay, so I'm going to start Goff. I'm going to start Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm going to start both the running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. I am going to start Sam Laporta. Outside of that, I mean, everyone else on the Lions is more of a dart throw. From that point, on the Bears, I still feel like I have to start DJ Moore. If Fields plays, I feel like you still have to start Fields just for his rushing ability. If he's not playing, I'm not starting Bagent. I don't believe he's going to be a good play this week because the Lions defense should be pretty solid. If Herbert's back this week, I would consider him and Foreman as flexes. If Herbert's out, Foreman is an RB2 or flex. That's pretty much how it breaks down. Oh, and Cole Kmet, I would start him every week, even though last week he may not have had the performance we wanted. Jeff, are there any differences there? And I think I'm picking the Detroit Lions to win this one.
Yeah, I don't have anyone else to start on that. I do believe they ride Foreman this week and sprinkle in Herbert. So just they're kind of going to go with the hot hand approach. I do believe Fields starts, but it's been really weird about what they're doing with Fields right now. So I don't know if they're purposefully keeping him out to see what they have with Tyson Badgett. But give me the Lions in this one, and I'm going to lock it up.
Okay. Well, we can move on to the next matchup, and that is going to be Cowboys at Panthers. Jeff, you're going Panthers this week, right?
You always guess the team that I don't pick. That is an interesting assessment there. You're trying to get me to change my pick. I'm going to go Dallas in this matchup. If I didn't pick them last week to lock up, I probably would lock them up this week. I'm going to start Dak. Pollard, but I'm skeptical of Pollard, as I mentioned on the last episode. Dowdle is a guy that I would consider starting if I needed someone right now. I'm probably staying away from the Panthers' backfield right now because neither one of them seem to be efficient right now. I would probably start Thielen, even though he's starting to fall down my list of usable starters. Lamb is an every week starter. Ferguson's becoming an every week tight end starter. And then Brandon Cooks is a guy that you can start if you don't have anything better. But he's a guy that is an option this week. We'll put it that way. But give me the Cowboys.
Okay, I don't disagree with any of those, so we can move on. I'm going to pick the Cowboys, so I agree with you there too. So we can move on to the Chargers at the Packers. And Jeff, who you got in this one? Are you? I know you're fully off the Green Bay train, so I'm assuming it's probably Chargers in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go Chargers in this matchup. I'm completely off of the Green Bay train. You can start Musgrave and Jones from Green Bay, and that's about it. The receivers are pretty much a dart throw at this point. Love is a bye week fill in at this point, but I'm going to always start Keenan Allen. I'm going to start Austin Eckler, Justin Herbert. It's pretty much about it. That's startable in the like no brainer starts in this matchup. Anyone that I'm missing, and then who do you have in this matchup, Alex?
So I think that Musgrave's a potential start at tight end, depending on who you have on your roster. Um, I think I pretty much agree. Everything else, I think you got to sit Christian Watson this week until he is fully back. But no, everything else I agree, and I'm definitely picking the Chargers. I don't think the Packers are going to be able to beat them. And if they do, I think that the season's over for the Chargers.
All right. I wouldn't disagree with that, and I think there's going to be a level of desperation from the Chargers in that matchup. If they do lose for some reason, though, I could expect that to be Staley's last game as head coach. All
Yeah.
right.
Okay. Well, we can move on to the Raiders at the Dolphins. This might be a smidgen of a better game than it looked on the schedule going into the season, but ultimately, I think this is one where the Dolphins win. And I think that you start Tua. I think you start if Achane is back, I would start Achane. If he's not back, Mostert is definitely a must start. Jacobs is a must start every week. Adams, I feel like you still have to start him. Jacoby Myers, I think this might be a little bit of a bounce back for him. Waddle, hopefully Waddle is back. I would start him if he is. Tyreek Hill is a must start every week. He's leading the league in receiving yards, so I don't see how you could bench him. That is it for me. In a super pinch, you can start Aiden O'Connell in 2 quarterback leagues. I wouldn't necessarily start him in a single one, but I am picking the Dolphins at this one. Jeff, where did I go wrong, and who do you have in this one?
So I'm gonna go with the Dolphins in this matchup as well. And then I think Myers is probably a guy that's getting close to just sitting him on the bench for right now until Aiden O'Connell gets going a little bit more. But Michael Mayer is someone that I would consider starting at tight end in this matchup. Tight end is a very hard position right now in football. So you can't we're grasping at straws at the tight end position, but Michael Mayer has actually shown a little bit so far.
Oh, hey, and you also picked the Dolphins, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the Giants at Washington. This looks like it's going to be another one-sided matchup, and it looks like, to me, Washington is the team that's going to win. You're starting Howell, you're starting Brian Robinson, you're starting McLaren and Dotson, even though they had down weeks. You're starting Logan Thomas. Barkley is really the only one on the Giants that you can even remotely consider starting. If Curtis Samuel's back, you could probably put him in flex. Dynamy Brown is a deep, 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 deep lottery
Too deep.
ticket. Yeah, lottery ticket this
Too deep
week.
for me.
Jeff, do you also have Washington? And who are you starting that's not on this list, if any?
Yeah, I think the only difference is I think I would have Dotson as a borderline starter because he did not perform at all last week. But give me Washington. It's another potential lock. I can't take them because I took them week 1 this year. So that's why I had to go Detroit. But they're another potential lock if you haven't taken them so far.
Okay. We can move on to, we're starting to get to the tougher matchups here, and we have the Steelers at the Browns. Jeff, I'm going to let you start this one. Who do you have in this matchup, and who are you starting?
I am going to be starting Watson, Ford, potentially Hunt, Warren. potentially Harris, because Harris is now the backup to Warren, but I do expect that to be like a 55-45 split. I'm probably leaving Deontay and Pickens on the bench if I can, but if I can't, then you got to slide them into the lineup. If desperate, you can start Elijah Moore, but definitely you want to start Cooper, and who did become the number 2 target last week, Njoku at tight end. Give me the Browns in this matchup, but this is going to be probably the closest matchup of the week if I had to guess.
Man. So for me this week, this is always a game that's very tight, no matter how good the rosters are. And this year, both these guys have the same record. Um, I think it's going to be a coin flip of a game. And I think whoever you think is going to win is very dependent on how high you think the score is going to be. I think it's going to be a low scoring game, which gives Pittsburgh the best chance to win. So I'm going Pittsburgh with this one. But if for whatever reason Cleveland scores a lot in this game, I don't know if Pittsburgh will be able to match them. So I could see a pathway to either of these teams winning. I think it's going to be low scoring. I think that Pittsburgh is going to edge this one out barely. I'm starting Deshaun Watson if I don't have a better quarterback option. I will start Njoku if I don't have a better tight end option. I am starting Ford and Hunt if both of them are healthy. I am starting Warren and Harris if both of them are healthy. And I think you can make a case for either defense. As far as receiving options, Cooper, I would start him. Elijah Moore's a desperation play. Um, I think that Deontay Johnson and Pickens, they're more flex or wide receiver fours this week. You can start them, but I wouldn't feel good about them. Um, that's where I stand there. But Pittsburgh has won games where their offense has just been miserable, and they're kind of breaking all statistic anomalies. So I expect that to continue this week, and they still get the win.
Yeah, I can see that, but I think Watson will outperform Pickett, and that is kind of where the uh, where the difference is for me.
Okay. Well, let's move on to the Titans and Jaguars. I have a feeling we're going to be the same here. Jeff, who are you taking in this matchup? Who are you starting?
Oh man, I'm gonna go the Jags in this matchup. I expect them to play quite angry in this matchup. And but when a team gets embarrassed the week before, they typically play angry the following week. So you have Levis and Lawrence. I would probably start both of them. Levis more if I'm in a pinch, but he's shown me that he can actually perform at this level. I'm going to start Hopkins, his number 1 target. I'm going to start Henry, ETN. I'm probably going to bench Ridley at this point. Like, I'm a little bit surprised that I'm saying that because I was so gun ho about Ridley to begin the year, but he really hasn't been performing that well recently. I'm going to start Kirk and Ingram as well, but it's going to pain me to put Ridley on the bench. But I think in one league, I'm putting Tank Dell in over Ridley this week because I just need someone that can score me some points.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'll just add that Tennessee was embarrassed last week against the Buccaneers, so I could see them playing angry as well and playing desperate with their record being 3-6. That said, I still think Jacksonville's a better team, and I still expect Jacksonville to win this one. I agree with the choices that you made. I think that some people might have to play Ridley, and I think that there could be a chance where, with so many people pointing it out, that they actually try to feature Ridley and get Lawrence going a little bit more. So, I mean, I would consider him as a weaker wide receiver 3 or flex play going into this week, but I agree pretty much everywhere else. So, Jacksonville for me has it, and if they lose this matchup, I could see them sputtering out and missing the playoffs potentially, especially if Houston keeps rolling.
All right. I still don't believe that Houston is real just yet, but I know you want to believe it. So sometimes you believe what you want to believe. But they're still so young. Defensive minded rookie head coach. I just don't see them making a playoff push this year.
I didn't expect it either. It's more of if Jacksonville falters, who fills the void? And it's to me, it's Houston's the second best team in that division right now.
Yeah, and right now though, the problem with that is we're just going off of a 1 week sample against probably the toughest defense in football right now.
That's fair. I think that's fair, but I do expect Jacksonville to win this game, so I don't expect them to falter at this point. But speaking of that number one defense that you liked, that's the next matchup here. We got the Buccaneers at the 49ers. Jeff, are you benching anyone this week?
Nope, starting all players in this matchup: Godwin, Evans, White. Um, even Mayfield at this exact moment, and I'm start Purdy, McCaffrey, Ayuk, Samuel, Kittle. Just let's start them all up. I would even consider starting Kate Otten, but he had a disappointing performance last week, so use some caution with that. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at with that matchup. And in this matchup here, give me the 49ers. I expect them to start going on a roll right now and potentially take that number 1 seed from Philly.
So I agree on virtually all accounts. I will just clarify that for my opinion, I think that Mayfield is more of a quarterback two this week. If you were desperate at quarterback, I would start Mayfield, but that is quite the challenge to go up against the 49ers. But I also will pick 49ers.
He's been so good.
Who, Mayfield or the 49ers?
Mayfield.
Yeah, I just think this is a tough team.
I agree. I agree. It'll be his toughest challenge yet this year, but as we talked about in a previous podcast, we do believe that he is playing his way into a starting role for 2024. Pretty cool, right?
We can move on to the Jets at the Bills. And this is a team that Josh Allen struggled against earlier in the season. Do you think that the Bills struggle against the Jets this week?
No, I think the Bills come out and they actually play pretty darn angry in this matchup. They fired Dorsey. They're running out of things to blame right now, so we're going to have to believe in the Bills' offense. We're going to have to start Allen, Diggs, Cooks looked good, and I guess his brother Delvin Cook plays on the other team. So I would start James and Delvin Cook potentially because Delvin is now the no question number 2 running back, but I'm always going to start Brees Hall. But I do believe Delvin Cook I would start as a flex play this week because he has been the squeaky wheel lately, and he may get 30-40% of the work this week. Garrett Wilson is someone I would start for the Jets, and Dalton Kincaid is someone I would start for the Bills. I would also consider starting Gabe Davis and Khalil Shakir, which is actually really surprising. I didn't expect to see Shakir moving up the depth charts like this, especially after year 1, but he is doing it, and it's really impressive.
So you got the Bills, right?
Yes, sir. Give me the Bills.
I was very much contemplating picking the Jets this week, but
Shocker.
I just don't see the way they faltered the last couple weeks, and I agree that the Bills should be bouncing back this week. Usually, you get a little bit of a bump that first game after you fire an offensive coach. So I expect the Bills to win this week. I don't think it'll necessarily be pretty, but I think that the Jets' offense, they really can't get much going, and I think that the Bills simplify their offense a little bit and will get the win. I'm starting James Cook, starting Brees Hall, Wilson, Garrett Wilson, the receiver, starting Stephon Diggs, starting Dalton Kincaid. For me, Gabe Davis and Shakir are flex plays, as well as David or Dalvin Cook. He's a flex play to me, not necessarily a high one. I don't know if he'll really get much carries, but I mean, they did let go Michael Carter, so maybe there's more carries for Dalvin. I just think game script's going to limit it for the Jets. And Conklin, maybe you can start at tight end, but that's about it for me. Like I said, taking the Bills this week.
Awesome. Awesome deal. So we are in agreement there, and we can move on to one of your favorite teams, the Seahawks, at one of my favorite teams, the Rams. I'll let you break down who you want to start and who you want to sit, and then who you got for this matchup.
So this is another one where I feel like you got to start all the offensive players. So depending on who's healthy, if Stafford's healthy, I would consider playing Stafford as a low end one, high end two. Geno Smith, same spot. I would start Kenneth Walker. I would start whatever Rams running back is healthy. If Williams is back this week, I would play him. Otherwise, you just got to play with what's there, and that would be more of a RB3 or flex, in my opinion, for the Ram side. Might even start Charbonnet as a flex. He's been getting more and more snaps. I would start Metcalf and Lockett, Nakua and Cup. Potentially put in Smith and Jigba as a wide receiver 3, 4 flex. That is pretty much it on the offensive side. I was tempted to pick the Rams, but I'm going Seattle. I think that Seattle will even out the series between the two.
All right. I believe that the Rams will win this matchup. I believe they sweep the season series. This is at home this time. I do believe that Stafford plays in this matchup. I think there's reports out there that he will. So I'm going to go ahead with that assumption. I was under the impression that Kyron Williams is coming back this week, but that seems like he's got one more week, so I probably would start Henderson as well. And then we'll see Williams come back off of IR the week after. So are you starting to get worried about Charbonnet's snap count versus Walker's, or is that something that's not even on your mind just yet?
I'm aware of the situation, but Walker's been more effective, so it doesn't bother me, especially going into the winter months. Teams are going to be leaning more on the run games a little bit more, so I think there's going to be enough for both of them. But Charbonnet hasn't stolen the show, and my threat level with him isn't that high yet.
Oh, right. So give me the Rams in that matchup, and we can move forward.
Okay, well, we've got just a couple matchups left. The Sunday night matchup is Minnesota against Denver. I think that this is a true coin flip based off of where these teams are right now. But Jeff, I'll let you say who you're picking and who you're starting this week first.
Oh boy. So in this matchup, I'm going to pick the Broncos, and I'm going to go ahead and start Russ. I feel confident starting Russ right now. I feel confident starting Joshua Dobbs right now. I'm going to start Ty Chandler. I'm going to start Javonte Williams. I think Javonte Williams is a high-end running back starter from now until the end of the year, especially with the way the team's playing. Starting Sutton, probably leaving Judy on my bench. And I will start Justin Jefferson if he returns this week. Addison, Hawkinson, all the Sons. You know how we do around here. It's Dobbs and Sons now, not Cousins and Sons. So that's probably what I'm looking at. I don't like any of the Broncos tight end options, but that's what I'm looking at right now. And I think the Broncos, if you're desperate for another lock, this would be another lock that I would look at, the Broncos winning this matchup. I just love the way that they're playing right now. But I also love the way that Dobbs is playing, so that would make me a little skittish to make that move.
Yeah, I like I said at the beginning of this matchup, I think it's more of a 50-50 coin flip, so I wouldn't feel comfortable picking either of these teams as a lock. But where they're at right now, I think Denver is the better team at this stage of the season, despite what the records would show. I think that without Madison and potentially still without Jefferson, I think it's going to be hard for Minnesota to overcome this matchup. But I would start Dobbs. I would start Wilson at the quarterback positions. I would start Javonte Williams. For me, Chandler and McLaughlin are flex plays. I think that, yes, Chandler's probably going to be the lead back for Minnesota, but I don't know how much that means right now. And I think that you can start TJ Hawkinson, assuming he's fully healthy and ready to go, as well as Addison. If Jefferson suits up, I'd play Jefferson. If Osborne suits up, potentially you can play Osborne. Outside of that, Sutton to me is a every week borderline, wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2 type player. So I would trust him the most out of the receiving core for Denver. Jerry Jeudy is a flex play, wide receiver 4 type. That's pretty much it for those teams, but I'm picking Denver in this one. I was tempted to go Minnesota, but I think that the lack of run game is going to hurt them this week.
Gotcha. Yeah, we'll see what happens, but I do believe Chandler could be their starting running back going forward, and then Dobbs is also a running threat. So let's not forget about that.
Okay, Monday night matchup, just the final matchup of the weekend. Philadelphia at Arrowhead versus Kansas City. Who are you picking in this matchup, Jeff?
Oh boy, this is going to be probably one of the matchups of the week, if not the matchup of the week. And I'm going to go ahead and pick the Chiefs in the game of the week here at home in Arrowhead. I'm going to predict that Taylor Swift, T Swift, is going to be in the crowd, and so that'll give Kelsey a big lift. Mahomes, Hurts, Pacheco, Swift, Brown, Smith, and Kelsey are probably the only startable pieces for me. I don't really want to start a Chiefs wide receiver at this point in time, but give me the Chiefs in this one, probably the game of the week. And are you in agreement, or do you disagree with me on this one?
I think despite expectations, I think this might be lower scoring than we would hope. And I know that Arrowhead's quite the advantage of a stadium and home field turf, but I'm actually leaning towards Philadelphia. I think they're the more complete team. I think their offense is in better shape than Kansas City right now. Granted, they're both coming off a bye week, so maybe Kansas City was able to iron out some of the issues. But I think Philadelphia, as a totality, is better coached. I think that they have more talent on the team. I think the quarterbacks are close to comparable. Granted, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league, no matter what stats say this season. But Jalen Hurts is so close to him, and I think the rest of the talent on that roster more than makes up for any slight difference between these two quarterbacks. I think that he has better receiving options. I think AJ Brown is a serious X weapon for them, and I think that Swift is good. I think that Hurts' rushing game returns in a with a vengeance this week. I think Smith is going to be featured a lot more too. So I expect Philly to win this one, and I think that this will be a good Monday night matchup.
Me too. I just think that the Chiefs really need this win, and neither team has really played great football just yet. But again, you might see the revenge game, if you will.
I mean, both teams are number one in their respective conferences, so
Right, but the Chiefs have much more on their tail right now.
we'll see. But I think this is another coin flip, but in the best way.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is going to be a great game. This is going to be a fun game to watch on Monday night, and one that we won't have to turn our TVs off early, most likely.
Okay. Well, not that many differences this week, Jeff. So maybe you'll start to catch up with how wonderful I've picked through the season. But
You
that
have
does it
one
for
good
this
week.
episode of the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you all for downloading and listening to this episode. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. Please leave us a comment and share the show. Every little bit helps.
You can find us on all podcasting apps by searching N2EFantasy, and with our handle at N2EFantasy on all social media platforms. Please join our community and give us a follow. Until next time, take care of yourselves, and remember, it's truly never too early for fantasy football. Thank you again.
Bye, everybody.